Hello grade 8s! Welcome to your first flipped classroom video for the year in history. You guys have been through this before with me, so you know the drill. Remember, you can pause the video at any time. If you want to go back and watch something, you can do that. If you just want to watch the first time through and then write things down the second time, that is all up to you. You can go at your own pace. So let's get started. Today's title is The Domesday Book in the Feudal System. I know the word looks like Domesday, but it did translate into Doomsday, and that's something we'll talk about tomorrow. We have two learning objectives. Firstly, we will explain how the feudal system worked and why William, as in William the Conqueror, would have wanted it. We will be able to describe what the Domesday Book was and what it contained. Okay, the year is 1086. William has been on the throne for 20 years. In that time, much land has changed owners, and he is unsure on who owns what and how much tax people would be paying. Now, here's two questions I want you to think about. Number one, what is William's problem here? Why would it be important for him to know who owns what and the amount of tax people would be paying? So think about that. Secondly, if you worked for him, what advice would you give him? How might he solve this problem? How might he find out who owns what land and how much tax people are paying? So think about that. All right, let's talk about more problems that William is having at this time. All right, firstly, in 1069, William stopped the rebellion in the north of England. So we had a bunch of people in this region who rose up and wanted to take him down, but he was able to stop them successfully. Secondly, in 1085, the King of Denmark planned another great invasion of England. Okay, and here is Denmark. How would William pay for an army to protect England? I would like you to write down these bullet points in your notebook. Okay, so we know that he needs money. Armies are not cheap. How is he going to get this money? The first slide we were thinking about who owns what, who pays what taxes. Let's talk about that. William wanted to get money from everybody living in England, and we know that throughout history this is a common thing that kings or rulers have always wanted to collect money from the people. But how much could each person afford to pay? William did not know, so he decided to ask everyone in England. So it's important to find out how much people can pay. A peasant won't be able to pay as much as a noble. So you need to find out how much can people pay for taxes. And to do that, he decided he wanted to ask everybody that lives in England. In 1085, how on earth did he do that? Okay, I would like you to write down these bullet points. And this is where the Domesday survey comes in. Notice the date is a year later. Well, William wanted to ask everyone over England, but he couldn't do that himself. So instead, he sent men from all over England to go and do that. So we can see there's a rider on a horse in this picture here. So when they got there, they went and asked everyone who lived there what they owned. And that might be if you lived on a farm, they would ask you how many pigs, how many hens, how many cows do you have? Do you have a windmill? What farm tools do you have? How much land is on your farm? So they would have all of these questions available in the survey, and they would ask everyone. They collected all the answers and brought it all together back to London to give to William so he could figure out how much each person could afford to pay him. Because it would be quite cruel to have somebody like a peasant pay the same amount as somebody who is higher up. So he took those answers to decide how much could people pay for these taxes. Okay, the Domesday Book. All the answers, so all the answers from the survey about how much land people have, what they own, all those things, they were put together in a book called the Domesday Book. No later king or queen has achieved anything like it. Today, you can still go and see it in London. Historians can still go in and use it. They can look at it. And it tells historians a lot about England during that time. I would like you to write down the first 2 bullet points in your notes. Okay, and here is an actual extract from the Domesday Book. I'm going to read it through with you right now, and then I'm going to post some questions up here. When those questions come, why don't you just pause your video? You can answer them in full sentences in your notebook, and then there's 3 of them in total. Okay, here we go. Sir Turld holds Frinton of Ranulph Peveril, which Kettle formerly held. At that time there were 2 ploughs in Domesday, and now 1, and there has always been 1 plough belonging to the villains. There is wood for 150 pigs, and 4 acres of meadow. There is 1 horse, 2 cows, 2 calves, 66 sheep, 20 pigs, and 6 hives of bees. The manor was formerly valued at 40 shillings. It is now worth 60 shillings. Okay, some of that is in Old English, but see if you can use the context of what they're talking about to help you figure out any of those words. Okay, here's the first question. What do you think might be the relationship between Turld and Ranulph Peveril? Next question. Who do you suppose Kettle was? Why do you think he no longer owns the manor? Remember, just take a guess. If you're really not sure, just try your best. And last question, what sort of information does this extract provide about life in the Middle Ages here in the medieval era? All right, once you've answered those, here are 3 quick questions I would like you to answer in your notebook in full sentences. Number 1, what was the Domesday Book? Number 2, what did it contain? Number 3, the survey was done by people walking around the country and recording answers by hand. How might it be done differently today? So how would we send out a big survey to everyone in the country? So you can answer these in full sentences. Once you're done, that would be a great time to take a break. And when you come back, we'll talk about the feudal system. All right, welcome back. If you haven't taken your break, press pause now, and you can do so. What I would like you to do is think about this. Who do you think is the most important within the country? Is it going to be the king, or is it going to be the peasants? Please write down your answer and explain why you picked that choice. All right, I like this question. Can you put these in the right order? So you right now are looking at a triangle that is actually quite similar to the hierarchy that we looked at in ancient Egypt. So we have like a pyramid. Someone belongs at the top, someone belongs in the middle, and someone belongs at the bottom. I want you to take these 4 choices, and I want you to put them in the order you think they go in. So we have A, vice principals, B, grade 8 students, C, principals, and D, teachers. Okay, who do you think is at the top of the chain? Who's going to be at the bottom? And I want you to think about this question. You don't need to write this down. Using the diagram above, can we describe what the feudal system is? What does this pyramid tell you about the feudal system? All right, you do not need to write this part down, but this slide will hopefully explain the feudal system. All right, so William, he was the king at the time, but he could not run the country on his own. So he needed other people to help him run the country in return for giving them land and power. So this was the basis behind the feudal system. So here we have the stars of the feudal system. Of course, we have William the Conqueror, who is the king at the time. We also have peasants in the Middle Ages, so those are people like farmers or skilled laborers. We have barons, and those are people, another word for nobles. In the same category, we might have priests as well. Okay, and at the top right here, we have knights, and those are going to be soldiers. So these are the four main groups we'll look at in the feudal system today. Okay, here we see another pyramid again, but here we have the actual feudal system. What I would like you to do is get your ruler ready. You are going to draw down this pyramid with the four groups, but we'll do that in the next slide. Right now, I'd like you to think about what order do they belong in. So just take a quick think right now. Do, 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 do. Okay, did you figure it out? Well, we know that William is the king, so he's going to be at the top. Ding, ding, ding. And let's take a wild guess and place the peasants at the bottom. Ding, ding, ding. All right, here I think it gets a little tough. Let's see. Do the nobles belong here? Nope. All right, they go in the second tier. So that means our knights are in the third tier. Well done. So we have the king at the top. We have the barons, who again are those nobles. Priests would be in that category. Underneath that, we have the soldiers, and then we have the peasants. Okay, now I would like you to get that ruler out, and I would like you to draw this triangle and have the four different tiers labeled in. If you want to draw a little picture of the king and a baron and a knight and a peasant, you can go for it. So if you'd like to pause and draw that pyramid shape right now and write that in, go ahead. So how did the feudal system work? Well, it's quite easy. Let's go through it together. Firstly, the king, if you remember, if he wants all the power, he needs to give people something. So he grants land to the barons. Ding, ding. So once you've drawn your triangle, if you can please draw in these arrows and the little boxes. All right. So the barons, what are they going to do for the knights? They're going to grant some of their land to the knights. Do you see a pattern? What's going to happen next? All right, the knights are going to grant land to the peasants. So here we have a big just passing of territory, and everybody wants a piece of land, and everybody gets a piece of land in the feudal system. All right, we're going to have some arrows going on this side too. So, oh, my screen, let's cut you off a little bit. There we go. So we have the peasants. These are, remember, these are people like the farmers, the blacksmiths. They're going to provide food and services when the knights ask for it. So if they need a new sword, if they need some food, they're going to ask the peasants for it because they got land from the knights. So there we go. We have our arrow pointing from peasants to knights, and here's our little info box. All right, what are the knights going to do for barons? So think about, what skills do knights have? What service can they provide to barons? That's right. They are going to provide protection and military service. And the barons, they are going to give money because they're wealthy, and the knight service to the king. Okay, once you have that in your notebook, you're all done for today. See you tomorrow.